evening and welcome to Tuesday Folk People. My name is Maddie Leadham and this evening I'm going to be joined by alt folk duo Good Habits. Made up of singer-cellist Bonnie Schwartz and accordionist Pete Shaw, this pair pack a performance that's unlike anything else on the folk scene. Constantly using their cello and accordion in innovative and unusual ways, this duo make it impossible for the audience to get bored, possibly a reason as to why they were awarded the Purbeck Folk Rising Award in 2020. Recently returned from a 2-year stint stranded in New Zealand as a result of the pandemic, up-and-coming Good Habits are dancing their way through the UK folk scene, including joining home stage for our Tuesday Folk People on tour alongside Bob Fox, the Shackleton Trio, the Brothers Gillespie and Homity, coming to Manchester, Leamington Spa and London on the 23rd, 24th and 25th of June. Tickets are available for that now. But I think that it's now time that we welcome Bonnie and Pete, aka Good Habits, to our online studio. Hello, Bonnie and Pete. How are you both doing?
Hello. Really good, thanks.
Yeah, we're good. It's a good day.
Excellent. And where are you currently at this point of recording?
We're currently in Hereford. We're house sitting, looking after 2 lovely little dogs. So based in a place called Lugwardine, which is on these big flats. So we're now currently surrounded by water, which is quite nice.
Yeah, thanks Eunice for that.
Yeah, we're currently recording at the time of Storm Eunice and all the other storms that have happened. So, it's quite, we're glad to be here. Actually, have not blown away in that storm.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of, we were very glad to be in a place where, like, we're here for a month. And it's been kind of like a work/creative retreat. And so luckily we didn't have to go anywhere. We could just stay put. So just the water rose and the trees fell down and we felt very lucky to just kind of stay in our little cozy place and not have to weather the weather.
With your 2 fluffy hot water bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 very fluffy dogs.
Right, should we dive straight in with some music now? I think people will be absolutely blown away with what they're about to hear. And let's begin with your first song, which is I Will Still Be Here. And it would be great if you could tell us about this song before we hear it.
So I Will Still Be Here was written when we were in New Zealand, and we wrote it a while before we made the Antipode album, which it's from, because we wrote it at this point of kind of really realizing the fact that we'd been happily stranded, as it were, in New Zealand because of COVID, and so we wrote it basically being just hugely grateful to be in that scenario, and then in that scenario getting rather existential about whether we can control what happens in our lives or not. And so kind of the ethos of the song is, did you earn or deserve who you are and where you are? And we were just bloody grateful to be where we were in New Zealand, and that's how that song came out of it.
I tumbled into life among some absent-minded strangers. There were no questions asked or questions answered. I started at the start. The choice belongs to you. You tell yourself you fully earned this. But when so much is pre-decided, how much do we deserve? Can I preordain? Does it make a difference? Can I choose my future? Would it be the same if everything were different? I live for the inevitable, and I will still be here, and I will still be here, I will still be here. Can't change my mind. Change my mind. change my mind. So just be pleased with it. It doesn't seem to have a meaning. Is it a butterfly effect I'm living? 'Cause I don't need to know. Can I preordain? Does it make a difference? Can I choose my future? Would it be the same if everything was different? I live for the inevitable. And I will still be here. I will still be here. I will still be here. Can't change my mind.
I'd like to go back to how you both formed, back to the very beginning. And am I right in saying that this all started at university?
Yeah, it did. And actually, it didn't start with me. So maybe I shouldn't be the one to introduce this, but it was actually Bonnie who started it all.
Well, I'd say before it became this duo, it was my friend Lydia and I. She plays the viola and sings, and so we kind of were jamming on some things, and then we decided that cello viola, let's get some percussion in there, and so I bought a cajon, percussive box instrument you sit on, and asked our friend to play it, and he was busy, so we asked Pete. And then a bit further down the line, our other friend Benji plays acoustic bass, and so it kind of came about. We'd like organise kind of gigs and events or collaboration focused things or little happenings whilst we were at uni. And so coming together as Good Habits, we'd often play songs that like I'd written, or we'd make group arrangements together, or we'd do a load of really fun covers. And so it was very much just this really lovely, fun thing that we do as really close friends, without any pressure and without any idea that we were going to continue doing it after university. And so in a kind of environment that was often, everyone's really busy, is often really high pressure, kind of looking back, the things that we did with Good Habits at that stage with our friends were really wholesome happenings, and I think that's why we ended up sticking with the name Good Habits, because we joke that Lydia has lots of good habits.
But you said earlier that you weren't so folky back then, and I think that you described yourselves as Baroque pop, and now you're described as alt folk. Where did that change? When did the folky influence really come in?
With Pete, because when Pete was playing percussion, obviously that adds loads to the sound, but doesn't direct so much the kind of, I don't know, the harmonics stuff, the use of harmony, and just kind of all those other musical parameters. And Baroque pop was kind of given to me before I went to university as what I was doing as a kind of, as basically like a singer-songwriter. I used to write songs for singing and playing the piano, and then like arrange string quartets. And so I kind of was in a very, I'd say like quite like eclectic pop kind of thing, from with kind of, when classical background meets just quite a diverse enjoyment of lots of stuff and musical theatre and all sorts. And so I think that probably matured a little bit in university, but when we were playing as, without Pete playing the accordion, I think more in terms of our original songwriting, more of it came from me because I was a voice and a melody instrument, and I was also the chord instrument at the time of the cello. And then moving to the cello and the accordion, then it just became so much more equal in what we were giving to the music and the writing, and we write the same amount of stuff. And I think it's much more of a two-way thing as opposed to me writing songs. And Pete definitely brought me into folk. You can elaborate if you want to.
Well,
Well, yeah, it was kind of, I think,
I
and
want-
also different types of folk. So, I mean, I grew up with more kind of like Irish and Scottish stuff, but then really got into klezmer and all this other stuff. And when you get into klezmer, then it kind of starts meshing with jazz and stuff. And there's, I think the with genre and like whether we were baroque pop or alt pop or whatever, it's kind of something that you use to describe yourself so someone else can go, oh, okay, I kind of have an idea, but it's never really kind of I'm baroque pop, so I'm going to write baroque pop. It's just, so now we're old folk just because it's kind of like it's folky, but also it's definitely not kind of traditional folk, so it's something. So yeah, it's interesting. Like genre is interesting, and if you listen to folk on Spotify, it's
a whole different thing.
It's just not. Yeah, so it's always that thing of how much control kind of the name of genre puts on you.
And I think we like alt folk because we embrace things like actual learning and playing of pre-existing folk tunes and writing our own tunes, and sometimes using like maybe more folky forms and structures, but we're definitely alt in that we're just exploring our own mixture of influences, our kind of own concoctions of loads of other stuff. So it's whatever it is.
Amazing. Well, I wanted to, you mentioned already the cello and accordion, and I do want to explore a bit more about that before we hear our next song. So as I've seen, or we've all seen in the first song, your use of the cello and accordion, it's innovative, it's unusual, but it's also extremely effective, and it's played in a way that I've never seen both of those instruments necessarily played before. And I was just so curious about how you found such a unique style.
I think I'll start, well, with accordion. I was never taught accordion, which you might be able to tell. So like in terms of my approach to accordion is very much just like knowing the theory and studying classical piano and stuff. So like I know how it works, and then just learning, and then so coming at it from an interesting approach of just like, what can I do with this? And so I really don't know what my style of accordion playing is, and there's probably lots of things wrong with it, but it means it's different and I think, and sometimes a bit strange. But it's basically you can just do so much, and it's such a diverse instrument. And what it works really well with the cello is that frequency wise, they all sit within a similar range, and they both have quite a large range. So we're not sort of boxed into one of us has to be the bass and the other is the melody. We can switch between, which is really handy. So it means that we don't have these preconceived roles of what we have to fulfill. We can always be switching around about who's doing what, which is really good fun in terms of when you are songwriting or jamming, because it means that there's not always a formula of, right, we're doing this, so I'm going to be playing like this. You can just throw that out the window and do something completely different.
Yeah, either one of us could be playing maybe a higher end melody or a tune or something, but then doesn't necessarily have to be that. Either one of us could be the chords or the rhythmic drive, or in the lower end being the bass. And I think especially when we started writing as this duo, a kind of a characteristic of our music, to be positive or negative, was that it's quite erratic, and sometimes would like hugely change up the textures, which was a bit Marmite for some people. We really enjoyed it, but and I think that just came from us getting so excited of like, I can be the double bass, I can be the fiddle.
Especially dynamics as well, and doing like when we first started out doing gigs in New Zealand, and the sound techies would be like
tiny little bit
so like angry with us after the gig and be like, you sound check so quietly, and then as soon as we start playing the gig we're like twice as loud, and then randomly go to nothing, and so and then just like really loud again.
Yeah, well, you learn on the road, don't you? And I think that was just because we were just like found ourselves in New Zealand or Manchester a bit before we went, and it was just like we'd been given all these toys to arrange with, playing in a way that was so different. And I'd been playing the cello and singing before, but I'd always felt like I had to provide more stability of the sound. Like I was playing more chordal stuff. And then as soon as we started playing as a duo, the accordion can and is providing so much, or the potential to provide so much to choose from, that the cello can be, I could write a song that existed purely of like a vocal melody and a counter melody. There's just like, either of us could be anything. And so we definitely went mental, and then now we've like stepped back a bit to kind of choose what we want, as opposed to just like every possible texture. But
well, talking about a lot of textures, I feel like the next song we've got actually does boast a couple of them, and that's I'll Follow You. It kind of takes a bit of a journey. Can you tell us about this song before we hear it?
So this song actually was written in the process of making a piece of gig theatre, and that was a piece of theatre about why human beings dance, put together with all of these interviews from people across the world of their relationship to dance, which was inextricably linked to their relationship with music. And it was something that we were just curious by, like, why do people dance? And some people, when they're just feeling really happy, they just have to dance, and like how our emotions are connected with our bodies and things like that. And so we did these series of interviews, and some of them were just kind of so surprisingly moving that this song came out of that. And it's about feeling probably feeling self-conscious, and then kind of gaining that confidence to participate, to dance through someone else, borrowing confidence from someone else, in some kind of exchange of that is what this song is about.
We did a lot of whatever it's called, hypnotic dancing.
No, it's called, so we played at quite
dance.
a few hippie festivals in New Zealand. Ecstatic dance,
which is, if you've ever seen Peep Show, it's like Rainbow Rhythms.
Like
just like the craziest 2-hour dance sance with strangers where you're told to just like let go of everything.
I'm not very good at that,
and be like
go, so
animalistic with your dancing, and like now we're dancing dance red,
and some people just like,
it's amazing. And
I know,
so
it's just one day.
So it really teaches you to be able to let go of that and just kind of just dance. But then and then the tune, and then the song goes into a tune which I wrote during New Zealand's second lockdown, which was in September of 2021, a few months before we came home. And we were staying in this lovely place in the Golden Bay, where we got very lucky and were by the beach with a very good friend. And so wrote this tune that just came out of somewhere one day when we were just writing by the beach. And it was also about a similar time that I found out that the accordion could pitch bend, and so you can bend the like pitch of the note, which some people have said it's a pity that it doesn't sound nice. I like it.
I said, don't do it. It sounds a bit like a fart.
It sounds like a fart, but it's kind of cool. So
but
listen,
here it is in the song.
Just what I thought I wanted, just what I thought I needed, an invitation to be here, an invitation to join you. Just what I thought I wanted, just what I thought I needed. Headlights, learning to walk, give me a clue. I guess I'll follow you in this dance. I guess I'll follow you in this dance. I guess I'll follow you in this dance. I guess I'll follow you. But what do I do? What do I do now? What do I do now? I'll follow you in this dance. I guess I'll follow you in this dance. I guess I'll follow you in this dance. I guess I'll follow you. Now, I don't remember not ever not knowing how to dance. Now, I don't remember not ever not knowing how to dance. Now, I don't remember not ever not knowing how to dance. Now, I don't remember not ever not knowing how to dance. But what do I do now? What do I do now? I guess I'll follow you in this dance. I guess I'll follow you in this dance. I guess I'll follow you in this dance. I guess I'll follow you. But what do I do now?
As you've previously mentioned, you were stuck in New Zealand throughout COVID, and that is something that I want to explore now. Now, you were originally supposed to be there for 3 months. How long were you out there for in the end?
21, nearly 22 months. So nearly 2 years.
That's far. That's quite a lot, more than you bargained for. But then again, it's not like you were in a bad place to be during COVID. It's like the best place in the world to be during that time. It meant you could actually carry on having a life when the rest of us were stuck. Did it feel quite like normal out there, or was it a bit different?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we were incredibly lucky, and it was ridiculous for us, because after the 3 months of touring, we had planned to just come back to Manchester, get on with regular life, what we were doing, which was a mix of freelancing, different stuff, participatory, different teaching work, definitely not full-time music. And then come the end of March, we played kind of a gig on St. Paddy's, like 17th of March, and then it looked like this thing was going to be big. And then Jacinda just went, right, we're locking down, and everyone went, everyone's locking down, and get home in the next 24 hours or stay. And so we just had to make a decision, like,
to stay.
Do we go or do we stay? And fortunately, our parents were like, stay. Like, you do not want to come back to the UK.
Your parents. My parents were like, come home.
Just being like, you're very lucky to stay where you are.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? But it was strange because for a while it was like we didn't know whether it was like the end of international travel. So there was a part of it. So it was like, and yeah, someone who was saying like, this could be it. Like, you could be in New Zealand forever now. And you're like, oh,
so we had some lovely friends who we were with for the first lockdown, who we actually both recorded albums in that lockdown. They did a strategic lockdown with each other as a duo to record their album. And so it meant that we were able to plan. We squeezed in an album. Would not recommend making an album in such a short time, so that we could kind of relaunch ourselves back out on the road in our kind of mini touring form. And we got ourselves this could call it a van, but it's just it was a people carrier with bed in it, basically. That we were then, and that was the tour van, our little van called Brian. It had a big moustache painted on the front, and then we were just in a position where we were like, we don't know how lucky we are that we could continue gigging and stuff like that. So it was our only option really that we had set up to earn money at all, was to just keep doing gigs when things opened up. But also we were so lucky that was an option, that we just did it as much as possible. And so as we were coming out of lockdown, we just booked a kind of a never-ending tour that was kind of broken up into an album release tour and then summer things and then continuing through, and just kind of use that opportunity to just, our friends called us gigging fiends, and I quite like that, to just do as many as we possibly could.
And it was lucky because New Zealand locked down super quickly and extremely hard, and so it's like 5 weeks of full lockdown, and then slowly started opening up in June 2020, and then very quickly it became apparent that there was just no COVID in the country, and
because the border was completely shut.
And people were so pro New Zealand. They were so happy. They're like so proud of New Zealand. There's this big team of 5 million. So it meant that everyone was just like out having a great time, because they knew that it was only New Zealand that you could do this in. And so everyone was going to gigs. The summer festivals were huge. And we were just incredibly lucky just to have landed there by accident.
And be one of the only international artists in the country was very fruitful.
And then we started to meet other people that were in the same situation, which was really interesting. And so you kind of made these friendships with people who were these similar COVID refugees of all different types of artists, which was very interesting.
And
but also there's a lot of people who were like fans that became friends, or friends who had moved to New Zealand at some stage in their life, or their parents had, and so there was kind of really lovely friendships and connections that we made. And so it was the whole kind of touring experience over there was really, had such a community feel to it.
And did you find that it helped you to evolve as musicians, being out there touring and doing all these gigs so much?
I think it sped it up, I think.
And especially doing like a whole mix of things, because it was our only income. So it was just like, say yes to anything and everything in any situation that comes up. Just like, well, we're free and might as well take a gig.
We're hungry.
And so we had these amazing things gigging in all different types of situations that you normally wouldn't agree to if it was in such peculiar circumstances. So yeah, just really amazing, lovely situations, including doing a lot of farmers markets, which we found was a really great way to play like in the mornings,
Yeah.
because you're not booking up other gig time if you play at 8 a.m. So like we would do like farmers markets, which was actually really good pay, and they pay you to be there, then you're busking and it's great, you get given loads of
And
bread.
everyone's chilling with their coffee, like a little festival.
Oh.
Yeah, and so we were like doing
We
that.
get given a lot of bread.
A lot of bread.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, flowers, all sorts. It was really
Yeah.
nice. And
we
but
would
then yeah, it just in terms of stamina of playing, because we'd often do that and then onto a gig, and then if it was a weekend, that was
yeah.
so 4
Yeah.
or 5 gigs, and so it really helped just like building up.
Also,
our
we
ability
felt
to
a
play.
pressure to like we wanted to be adding things to the set and kind of growing our set and growing, and so we definitely found a way of like using performances to make sure we were getting better at performing and getting better at what we were doing, and like trying to avoid that feeling of like, oh, we just go through the motions, oh, we do set list B or something like that. And because everything always felt so rough and ready, everything always felt like we were making something happen because we were just kind of us in our van on from one point to the next. It was, we often didn't have time or space to practice unless we were literally like in a field because we were like constantly at things. Or
we had a nice experience of playing at a kind of farmers market in Queenstown. It's like a creative market, and this elderly Asian man who didn't speak any English just kind of came up smiling, and then just like walked up and like pointed at the microphone, and we were like I stood up, I took the mic, and then just started like singing opera while we were playing, and so we were like, sweet, let's go. And so we did this kind of like
played along
accompaniment to him as he was singing this like amazing like opera stuff, and we were like just absolutely no idea what was going on, and people were looking like, is this is a strange trio, like I'm trying to work out like,
how did they form?
Like, yeah.
And then he just finished, put the mic back in, trotted off, and that was cool.
Yeah.
I suppose it is great because it does mean
but
that
I think
you've come back to the UK and you've got this polished performance. All of your mistakes that you've made thousands of miles away. We don't know any of them. And you've just come here and just seem to be like amazing from the get-go. I remember seeing you at Manchester Folk Festival and you were just incredible. It just blew everyone away in the room.
Oh, thank you, Betty. I think at the time, that's what I thought. I thought, right, we're putting in all these hours now and getting good at playing in these weird scenarios where we're squished in a corner or really distracted by something, or we once did a gig and our van got broken into whilst we could see it getting broken into. And we thought, right, well, we're making all these mistakes now, which means when we come home, we'll be ready. But I don't think that's
for our van not
ready for our van to not be broken into, so we can play a gig, or like we're making these mistakes now so that when we go home, like it'll be ready and it'll be good. But that's totally not the case. I think it still feels exactly the same. Like we're making all the same mistakes. I think we're just a bit more happy to like make those mistakes because we've definitely come somewhere from where we were, and so it's okay to be making those mistakes because we're still kind of growing. And actually by putting ourselves in this like there's no learning in the comfort zone kind of place where we're like always wanting to feel like we're exploring new territory and not playing it safe, I think maybe adds a bit more of a, I don't know, kick up the arse feeling and actually being okay making those mistakes.
Oh, I do think
there's a lot of mistakes.
There's a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, but it's the confidence that you both have. Even if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world for you. You kind of, I don't know, you've got this assurance that you're making the music that you want to make. And then that kind of rubs off on the audience and we enjoy it. And we're not there like, ooh, mistake there, because it just doesn't matter. It's really good.
Yeah, and audiences can be people. And so I mean, I like to think that we don't make obvious mistakes, but that we're communicating a lot with each other. And when you feel like you're getting to know an audience, or you can connect with someone, or you've told them a story with your song, you know that they're with you and they're not going to hear one mistake and go, well, I've made up my mind now.
Get them out the door. Yeah.
So it's
exactly.
Yeah, it's taken me a long time to actually realise that if you make one mistake, you're not going to change the audience's mind and then they'll suddenly think you're terrible. Yeah. It's taken me a long time to realise that it doesn't work like that.
A 2-year tour of New Zealand to realise that.
Yeah. Genuinely.
And there was something that you guys mentioned to me before that we don't really have in the UK, or if we do, I'm not that aware of it. You said that they have that, and please forgive me if I butcher this pronunciation, but it's koha or something, like a payment form that they have in New Zealand. Could you explain what that is to our audience?
Yeah. No, you nailed the pronunciation. Yeah, koha, which is this
Means
idea.
gift.
It's a gift. So it's the equivalent in the UK would be just like pay what you like. And so you can do a koha event where it's like there's no ticket, you're not buying a ticket, there's no flat fee that you have to pay to get in, but it's pay what you can and pay what you sort of value it as. And so it means that people come up and they go like, I really don't have much disposable income, but I really want to see this, I can do this for you, or this is all I have and this is the reason. And you don't want to charge them more to come in because you want them to be
that.
there.
Yeah.
And then you get people who have lots of money and go, that was amazing, like you deserve more than $20 for this. I'm gonna like, here, have this. That was really worth it for me. So it's much more of an open thing, and it's understood that it's not like doesn't mean that it's a free gig and when the hat comes around you can just pass it on. It's like you give something, it's part of that, but it doesn't matter how much you give, it's give what you can.
Yeah, and I think the kind of translation of being it's a gift is quite nice, because then it adds this reciprocal nature of like what you're giving on stage is your gift. And we had this like a bit of a personal journey of being in New Zealand and going, why is everyone being so nice to us? We don't deserve this. Because people would come and see our performance and then say, come and stay with us. I see you got a spare night, come and stay with us, because they're lovely people. And it took us a long time, well, it definitely took me a very long time to realize that some people want to help because they're just lovely people and they like giving and helping, and some people wanted to help because they felt like they got a lot from the performance, or they wanted to be a part of whatever the Good Habits journey was. And it took me a long time to realize that they actually got value from us, and that it was a reciprocal, this is my musical gift to you, and then they give back. This one woman was like, I've come to this koha gig, and she was like, I don't actually have my wallet on me, but I'm a hairdresser and I'll give you a haircut. Yeah. which obviously isn't so sustainable if you're a musician with bills to pay, but when you're living in a van, that's quite.
I think
the first person to offer like to come and stay with me was actually right at the bottom of the country in a place called Invercargill. And just by chance, the time that we had turned up there was this huge biker rally called the Burnt Monroe, which is this big like motorbike rally of people turn up for these races. And so there are loads of bikers just like drinking in the pubs, hundreds of bikes everywhere. And we were just like busking on the side, kind of outside this pub. It was quite kind of an agreement. We just thought, oh, this is on, so we'll play. They gave us a pizza. And there were these bikers just getting really drunk, having a really good time. And then this guy came up and he was like, oh, if you're in Christchurch, come and stay with me. And we were like, oh, that's weird, these biker dudes.
No one would ever do that in the UK.
Yeah.
What, you wouldn't take up on it.
And so we thought, oh, well, let's take him up on it. And we turned up and he's become a really good friend. And he's this lovely guy. And we went and stayed with him and his family quite a few times, including we turned up once and he was like, yeah, my daughter's just gone into labor, so like we're gonna be grandparents for the first time. But we were like, we can go, and they're like, nah, like, hang around, it'll be fine. So like
and I think and it was like a startling thing to think that, and they talk about they kind of really enjoyed coming to see the performances, but we kind of really didn't see it as that. We were just like, why are these people so nice? Why are these people so friendly? I think the one that I think about the most, which kind of reminds me that we can kind of be really reciprocal in the way that people connect to your music, is at the begin on the first tour we played up in the Northlands, and then we visited someone who we were recommended to go and visit, this lovely guy who runs a music shop in the Northland, and we played there for him and his friends and just did a couple of songs. And then this guy, also called Pete, there are lots of Petes in New Zealand, said, oh, that was really fantastic, I can't come to your gig tomorrow, but the day afterwards, come to my work and I'll take you for a fly in my aeroplane. And so we thought, that's a stupid idea. He's clearly a murderer. We thought, because we're so awkward. And then we went and chatted with him, and he said, well, you shared with me what you do and I won't forget it, so I wanted to share with you what I do so that you don't forget me. And we just thought that was really special moment.
It sounds like the most beautiful.
And we didn't get murdered, but we literally turned on the location on our phone, texted people we're going for a flight,
Yeah, I was going to say that you
if
said
we
you
don't
thought it
take
was a
that.
murderer, but you still went anyway. I think that's so funny. But
doesn't reflect well on us, does it?
I think, it's just the most beautiful. It just sounds like the most beautiful tradition that they do there with that core heart gift giving thing, and the whole scene just seems amazing. I think it's time we have another song now, and so this next song is I Don't Know Any More Than You Do. Can you tell us about it?
So this one was written in a similar time to I Will Still Be Here, because it's about it was written about a time that I remember when I was younger, where I was a bossy know-it-all, and maybe still am a bit, and I went to my philosophy teacher with all these various questions, and some advice I was given at the time was don't learn so that you can be right, just learn for the sake of learning. And so this song was just written about the value in learning about stuff and having a growth mindset, and just not needing to have to explain everything, but just learning about the world as you kind of go through it. So it's definitely written in a similar existential patch, where we're very, very grateful, very homesick, very confused about why the world has gone mad. Yeah.
'Cause I'm learning to fix it, only learning can fix it. I'm learning to fix it, only learning can fix it. Hope that it's enough to trust in what I know. Then it comes to an end when something else comes clipping overthrown. I'm not holding on to the idea that's right in front of me. So I'm coming to you for the answers to my burning questions. You got the answers, tell me what, and you say I don't know any more than you do. I don't know any more than you do. And now my world is falling apart, so I'm learning to fix it, only learning can fix it. I'm learning to fix it, only learning can fix it. Hope that it's enough to trust in what I know. Then it comes to an end when something else comes clipping overthrown. I'm not holding on to the idea that's right in front of me. So I'm coming to you for the answers to my burning questions. You got the answers, tell me what, and you say I don't know any more than you do. I don't know any more than you do. And now my world is falling apart, so I'm learning to fix it, only learning to fix it. I'm learning to fix it, only learning can fix it. to fix it. Only learning can fix it.
So the folk scene in New Zealand, or the music scene, is obviously going to be a bit smaller than the UK folk scene / music scene. How are you finding the UK different to the New Zealand scene at the moment?
Good question. It's definitely, and we were operating in an even smaller part. A very awesome, lovely community of people over there. But coming home, it feels totally new. We joke and say that because Good Habits didn't hardly existed before we went to. Well, I say hardly existed. It existed within university and for our friends. We weren't kind of publicizing more than that. So it feels in a way like we're starting afresh. And we joke that it's like being an international artist without the interest or without the allure of actually being an international artist. But it's going really well. And I think we have a lot to thank for that, because when we came home, we were also part of the English Folk Expo, which is a great way to kind of launch yourself into a community of people. And we're booking lots of gigs. But it just definitely does feel like it's exciting to remember how many people there are here, and therefore how many artsy things are happening. And touch wood, things are happening more and more throughout the year, and so hopefully we'll have hopefully everyone will have a good season this year. But yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, the gigs are coming in the calendars, yes. And so we're gonna get back out on the road quite soon, but instead of our small van, in a little Renault Clio.
Much better. It's more roomy, isn't it, that? So one thing that I wanted to talk about was the release of your latest album. Now, you've got 2 albums, and have I got that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you've got Going for Broke and Antipode, and Antipode you released very recently. And yeah, I was hoping we could talk a bit about that and kind of go through the themes and stuff that you explore in it. Like, what is the album about?
Yeah, so Antipode was recorded in New Zealand, and it's about being stuck on the Antipode to your home. And so it's Antipode, but spelt with a Y instead of the actual spelling of an E, to be kind of about what that feeling is. So we thought we'd invent a new word. But yeah, so it's kind of these traveling, they're not traveling songs, but the emotions of traveling and all the different things that we wrote whilst on tour and whilst in New Zealand, thinking about home and this weird position we were in. And so yeah, it was really good fun, and we got to record it in this very strange place in an old hospital in New Zealand, which was great fun, which has been turned into a recording studio. So you record in the old surgery with like the surgical light and everything, and then it's a resident recording studio. So it's a residential one, so you sleep on the maternity ward, and it's just you and and I was reading The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo at the time, so I like just finished it and then was terrified. And there's like these big basements and everything and these long dark corridors, like hospital corridors.
It was very different, and I mean, and thematically it was very different to the first album, in that it felt much more, because we were further into being in New Zealand and further into maybe adapting to what that situation was like, and feeling weirder and weirder, and obviously collecting more enjoyable memories or things that make us think. And so it was much more, we kind of call it our kind of a scrapbook adventure album, where we also reined in a bit more to recording an album that is just the sounds that we create live. We didn't add loads of multi-tracks. We created an album that sounds hopefully similar to how we sound live. And yeah, taking our favorite things that we really felt like represented the thoughts that we'd been having at those times, the kind of the ones about life and about envy and about gratitude and about things like that.
So basically, if anybody is really interested in your experience in New Zealand, what better way to find out about it than to listen to Antipodes
Yeah.
and really get into the depth of how you felt. Yeah, definitely. And if people want to listen to that, that's on like Spotify, your website, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on Spotify and Bandcamp and yeah, and everything's on our website, including the videos we made. We made videos from quite a few of the album songs as well. Give you a little more insight on top of the music.
Amazing. And did you tour that, or are you yet to tour it?
Yes, so we toured Antipodes as our homecoming tour. And so we arrived home, and then shortly after we arrived home, pretty much as we were fresh out of self-isolation, we had a little Antipodes homecoming tour, and that was really special. That included quite a few house concerts as well, so that felt really like it was a very emotional tour, because there was various points where, like the gig we did in London, and these people who we hadn't seen in 2 years and a bit, kind of being there after not having seen them for so long, in the scenario where we didn't realize we were going to be gone away for a few years. So that was often quite emotional little gigs.
And we actually managed to do,
I can imagine.
I wouldn't say it's the first gig of the album tour, but we got the masters back for the album the day of our final gig in New Zealand, which was going to be, actually it was the second to last gig in New Zealand, which was in the village that we locked down in originally, in this lovely village called Paikakariki. And we got to know the community really well, and we stayed there for a while, and I played football for the local team, and so we knew this community really well. So we thought, it's got these, so like, right, we've got to sell these, we've got to have them ready. And so like, well, we've just got like blank CDs that we then burnt the album onto. And so we started making cases. I started making. Bonnie didn't like the idea.
I didn't approve of it.
So we started like making album cases out of the old posters from like.
Well, because we had posters for the tour, the album release. No, sorry, not the album release tour. Our farewell tour that was meant to happen. We were collaborating with a wicked artist called Jenny Mitchell, not to be confused with Joni Mitchell. Jenny Mitchell.
Yeah,
you'll remember her now. Wow. You'll remember her now. And then that was meant to be like a kind of 2.5-3 week tour, but then we only had these little 2 show dates, and so we had all of these posters, and Pete was like, "We need to use them for something."
She started making like all of these CD cases and then like selling them at the gig, and people were like, "What is this?" So you like have Jenny's face, like, and so we thought, and it became this thing. Speaking of like Koha, we're like, we've got all this gear and this stuff that we're flying back in 5 days, and we're gonna have to get rid of this. So we were like, just like opened our van, and we were like, even the van was for Koha, and someone nearly bought it, and we were just like, take whatever you want, and Koha, just like give what you want. And so we had like a table with all of our stuff, like our merch box, and people were just like buying like
we had a mannequin top that we used to put merch on, so we sold Manny
and
mannequin.
And that was at the end of the gig. We did that, and I was like, right, time to pack up. And then just like loads of our leads were missing, and I think someone just like, and the leads were not supposed to be like Koha. So I was like, we just lost all of these leads.
So we had to borrow some for the gig the next day, but that was okay. It was the last gig.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Imagine just taking your accordion.
Yeah, literally like, sweet, yeah.
They're leaving the country. He won't need this again.
$15 for that, sweet.
Yeah, well, we've kind of managed to keep a similar feel in these gigs.
We are currently running out of time, unfortunately, and so I wanted to explore now what you've got coming up in the future and everything, so that our audience can see you, can know what's going on. So what is happening?
So we're coming up towards our spring tour, where we've got a southern leg, which we're excited to play at Bristol Folk Festival as part of that southern leg on the 30th of April. And then various other gigs, such as on at the Green Note in London on the 2nd of May, and then the Globe at Hay on the 22nd of May. So there's some of the ones we're excited for. And then in June, we're going on a double bill collab tour with Katie Mack, who also happens to be a singer cellist, but totally unique style. And we both kind of explore quite different types of alt folk. And Katie plays with a vibraphone player as well, and so we're kind of in this alt folk space on our little collab tour, which features a performance at Women in Mint Festival, which I'm really excited for, and that's in May. And most of our gigs with Katie are in June.
And then in June, the big tour.
Oh, what have we got in June?
Oh, yeah.
Manchester and London, hitting them up.
Doesn't know. We have the Tuesday Folk People Tour, and Good Habits are making an appearance on that for our Manchester and London dates. So make sure, if you want to see these guys live alongside Bob Fox, the Shackleton Trio, and the Brothers Gillespie, make sure that you come along for that and see them. It's going to be very exciting. But it's the first of our Tuesday Folk People tours, so get your tickets. Information is on the website and all of that sort of stuff, so check that out. Have you got anything else, guys?
It's all downhill after that, really. Like, it really peaks, and then just festivals.
Yeah.
So summers are full of festivals, which will be very good.
And
fun.
we've got a project we're working towards in later end of the year, but that's all in its secretive stages at the minute. But it's all happening.
Yeah, that's amazing and very, very exciting. And I really hope that our audience get to see you at one of the 3 tours and festival dates that you've got going on. And I really want to just push that Tuesday Folk People tour.
Yeah, well, I think the Stoller Hall and the Cecil Sharp House are just such beautiful venues. They're such...
Even if you don't listen.
Even if you hate the music, around, just be in the space.
Plug your ears and just look. And
I think you should.
Amazing. Well, unfortunately, guys, we have run out of time, but it's been an absolutely wonderful hour talking to you today. Very interesting. You've given us some insights into New Zealand, into your unique instrument style, and your amazing performances, which just are very different but incredible. So we have got one more song, luckily, so everybody can hear you one more time. And this final song is She Bangs the Drum. And some people may recognize it, but just for those who don't, can you tell us about this one?
So, speaking of Stoller Hall and Manchester, we got asked to do this for a friend's party in that village in Paikakadiki. And he was a very lovely guy to us. He was a producer, and he said, can you play at my party? And I'd love you to play this song. And he asked for She Bangs the Drums. And we were like, that's a great song. And it has loads of meaning for us as well. Bonnie was in a show that was all about the suffrage movement, and that was kind of the centre of the piece was.
And the show was called She Bangs the Drums, and I got to play She Bangs the Drums, and it was felt pretty badass.
And it's this just absolute Manchester anthem by the Stone Roses, which is kind of the lesser known Oasis. And so it's just an absolutely great song, and so we put a kind of folky twist on the Britpop classic.
My needle hit the groove, spiral through another day. I hear my song begin to say, kiss me where the sun don't shine. The past was yours, but the future's mine. You're out of time. I don't feel too steady on my feet. I feel hollow, I feel weak. Passion fruit and holy bread fill my guts and ease my head. Through the early morning sun, I can see her, here she comes. She bangs the drums. And have you seen her, have you heard the way she plays? There are no words to describe the way I feel. And how did it ever come to pass? She'll be the first and she'll be the last to describe the way I she'll be the last to describe the way I feel.
Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see Good Habits live at Homestage's Tuesday Folk People on Tour, please head over to the Manchester Stoller Hall or Cecil Sharp House websites and buy your tickets to see them on the 23rd of June in Manchester or the 25th of June in London. Alternatively, check out the Homestage website at home-stage.co.uk for more information. If you'd like to find out more about our past and future Tuesday Folk People artists, please sign up to our mailing lists or keep an eye on our social media and website. Our next session will be on the 22nd of March at 8 p.m, where we're joined by the Cider House Rebellion. See you then!